The next day, Rico had her introductory training session, which, according to Salis, would follow the exact same routine as his first day of training, which, to be honest, he wasn't really a fan of. More so to the point, Silas absolutely forbid him from telling Rico what she was going to be in for. So Taleon spent most of the time that they were gone thinking about Rico and whether she was doing okay, knowing that he was most likely scaring her senseless. But to his surprise, the day of training actually ended fairly quickly. Before noon even arrived, Salis came strolling back through the door. Running ahead of him was Rico, who immediately darted through the doorway, running and jumping on Taleon. "I'm back with Master Taleon," Rico shouted. "You stays away," she said, looking towards Salis. Rico, are you okay?" "White-haired man is nasty. He did such mean things to Rico. Me no like him. Rico no like him at all," she said, pointing at him with an angry expression on her face, whilst staying hidden behind Taleon, only poking her face out somewhat. Yeah, I've gotten it all before, kid," Salis said as he closed the door behind him. Surprisingly, that went quicker than I expected it. Quite frankly, I was actually fairly surprised at her survival instinct. It's strong. Things went fairly quickly, and I was fairly surprised to see that Rico was not shaken by the concept of death. It seems like that fear is a normal part of her existence. Well, at least it has been up to this point. So, all I really had to do was suss that out. In the end, when we came to the lesson of fear of death, Rico was a fighter till the end. You should have seen her. It was actually very impressive. There that monster was about to gobble her down, and she never shed a tear. She didn't freeze, she didn't whimper or cry, she didn't scream for help. She spent every single second fighting, even as it clutched her in her grasp, lifted her up, and started trying to gobble her down. She spent every moment fighting it, trying to bite into its hand with those teeth. Her last statement before she figured out that it was an illusion, and that she wasn't actually going to die, was that Rico will eat her way out from the inside. Stupid monster. "That was not nice," Rico shouted. "Rico no like you anymore. Well, Rico never really like you, but now she like you less." "I told you, Rico, it was just training. You needed to understand what it felt like to fear death. But it looked like you already had that sort of fear well in hand. So we can move on. Lucky enough, we got finished with plenty of time left in the day. So, if you want, we can pick up training with both of you. No more scare tactics. We can begin our training in earnest." "Really?" Taleon said, getting a wide smile on his face. "But we're gonna train magic, right? You're gonna teach me how to use it?" "Well, before you learn magic, you have to learn how to call your demon energy. That's going to be lesson number 1. I'm pretty sure that Rico already knows how to do it. She just doesn't have very much at her disposal. But once you learn how to do that, you should be on your way. And as promised, I'll make sure that I include magic in your lessons. But once again, we're not going lackluster on your other things. Your combat training and your demonic ability training will be a part of this. You'll just have to try to balance them with your magic. Do you understand?" "Yeah, sure," Taleon said. Well, hold on for a moment. Melody interjected. "Before you go off, let's get you two changed. I just finished with both of your clothes. I've made you some new, sturdier, and better-looking clothing that should fare well for your training. So, Rico, come with me. And Talion, you'll find that you have some clothing prepared in your room. Go put it on." Sure, Mom. Come now, Rico. You come with me." Yes, Master's mother." "How many times do I have to tell you, Rico? It's just Melody." Sorry, Melody." "Rico, come now," she said as she skittered off towards Talion's mother, and began walking with her hand in hand towards his mother's room, where Talion surmised that they would no likely be changing Rico. Talion headed towards his own room, opening the door and entering to find some new clothing laying on his bed. Taking a look at it, it seemed to be very nice. Mother's extra work to learn extra things in the making of clothing from her grandmother had apparently yielded some good results. The clothes looked very nice. Talion was given a pair of light gray pants that were seemingly fairly flexible, having plenty of bend and give to them. They seemed like they breathed well, along with a white shirt and a loose-fitting gray vest that matched the pants. All of it was most likely made to be worn together as a single outfit. So Talion took the time to change into it, finding that, of course, his mother had gotten the measurements right, and everything seemed to fit rather well. Talion actually spent a few moments admiring his new clothing and how nice he looked in them. "Wow, Mom has really stepped up her game. This is way better than my last outfit," he said, before finally getting adjusted and stepping outside into the front room, finding his teacher sitting at the kitchen table, drinking some water and relaxing for the moment being. Every once in a while he would still fidget, scratching at some of his bandages, before looking at Talion somewhat annoyed, as if the itching reminded him of the cause. They actually spent a fair amount of time, nearly 30 minutes, waiting in the front room. "What's taking them so long?" Talion said. "I mean, surely it doesn't take that long to put on clothes. What are they doing?" Kid, you got a lot to learn about women," the sailor said, looking down at Talion. "When it comes to women and getting dressed, fast is not their forte. Women are far more visual than men are. Even if we primp ourselves, trying to look nice and proper. Hell, even if we stop to admire ourselves, it still doesn't really take that much time in comparison to how women get dressed. Women tend to put a lot of attention into the fine details. You would be astonished and horrified at how long that it can commonly take a woman to choose what hairpins to wear for the day, what scarf goes with her dress. It's not something that you know a lot about right now, but trust me, kid, when you get older, it's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with," Silas said, as they heard the door to Melody's room beginning to open, at which point Rico and Melody exited the room, stepping out into the living area. For a moment, Talion stood there, a bit wide-eyed, looking at Rico, who he thought looked great, far better than she did originally. Rico was no longer in the tattered rags that she was in before. Now, she was wearing what seemed to be a fairly fine-made dress. It was a blue dress that was all one piece. It seemed to fit snugly in some places, but then flow in others. Rico had also been outfitted with new shoes that matched her dress. Little blue slippers. It was at that point that Talion noticed that Rico was actually much cleaner than she was, having scrubbed off all of the dirt that was covering her before. Washing her hair, it was clear that she had taken a bath, after which the difference between her being clean and her being dirty was massive. Her hair had straightened out much more. Before, it had some split ends, stray hairs, and a little extra fluff to it. Now Rico's hair seemed to have some shine, being very long and straight. Her blue hair actually almost seemed to give off sort of a sparkle. Her hair, which was hanging all the way down before, simply loosely, had now been combed and brushed, and swept up into a bun, which was held in place by several makeshift pins, affixed with small blue stones. All in all, Rico's outfit looked fantastic, as well as appearing as if it would function quite well. It wasn't overly cumbersome or frugal in its design. It was both plain yet appealing to the eye, and wouldn't restrict her movements. Does Master like?" Rico said, looking towards Talion, with a gaze searching for approval. Yeah, Rico, you look great." Rico sighed. "Rico is happy you like. Rico was not so sure. Rico has never worn anything this nice before. Rico does not want Master to be upset. Having clothing in Rico's way might have slowed down Rico's movements, so she cannot respond to Master as quickly as she wants. But Rico thinks dress works well. Rico still feels free to move, but Rico does miss her smell," she said as she lifted up her arm and sniffed at herself a bit. "All of Rico's smell is gone. What if other demons think she weak?" she said as she sniffed herself over with a look of displeasure. "Rico smell all flowery." It was at that point that Talion couldn't help but break out laughing. "Well, what is Master laughing at? Rico knew it. She lost her smell and now Master thinks she weak." "No, that's not it, Rico," Talion replied. "It's just I didn't expect you to miss your smell. Smelling flowery is good for girls." "Are you sure, Master?" Rico replied. "Yeah, Rico, I'm sure," Talion said, with a smile on his face. "Trust me, it works." "Well, I most certainly hope so," Melody said, as she leaned down beside Rico, pinching her cheeks a little bit from behind, giving her tiny little red marks on her face. This one did not make taking a bath easy. It's almost as if she's never taken one before. She fought me through the whole thing, as if she was scared of water. Rico not scared of water. Rico has just never taken bath before. They strange, filled with bubbles, but no knowing where bubbles come from. Rico no like." "Well, like it or not, Rico, you are going to be taking baths on a regular basis. I will not have you running around smelling. It's not proper for a young lady."